This video is for documentary, commentary, and storytelling purposes. Karen Ramsey's death remains an active homicide investigation. No living person is being accused of a crime in this video, and all individuals should be presumed innocent unless proven otherwise in a court of law. In April 2024, construction workers were digging on a quiet piece of land in Patterson, New York, when they uncovered something that should never have been there. It was not an old foundation, a forgotten pipe, or debris from a previous build. Beneath the ground, hidden under concrete, were human remains. At first, nobody knew who she was. She was a mystery, buried beneath another mystery, sealed away in a place where nobody expected a lost life to be waiting. But what made the discovery even more disturbing was not just that a body had been found. It was how long she had been hidden. Investigators soon realized this was not someone who had vanished recently. This was not a person missing for weeks, months, or even a few years. The woman beneath the concrete had been gone since 1980, and for more than 4 decades the world above her had continued as if she had simply disappeared. Her name was Karen Ramsey. She was also known by her maiden name, Karen Angelillo. She was 25 years old when she vanished, a young wife and mother with a life, a past, a family, and people who once knew her voice. Yet, somehow, for 44 years, she remained hidden beneath concrete. Homes changed, people aged, memories faded, records disappeared, and the person Karen had been slowly became something almost more frightening than death itself. She became a silence, a missing woman without a clear public alarm, buried beneath time as much as earth. Karen Ramsey had lived in southeast New York, not far from where her remains would eventually be discovered in Patterson. According to reports, she disappeared around May 1980, and her remains were found on April 16, 2024, during excavation work at the site of a new home. DNA later confirmed her identity. For around 2 months after the discovery, she had no confirmed name. She was evidence, remains, and questions. Investigators had to consider whether they had found the answer to another cold case, or whether this was someone whose disappearance had somehow slipped through every crack in the system. Before Karen was identified, the case triggered speculation across the region. There were other missing people, other unresolved cases, and other names that had haunted families for years. When a body is found after decades, people naturally look for connections. They wonder if one buried secret might explain another. But then, the DNA result came back, and instead of closing the mystery, it deepened it. The woman beneath the concrete was Karen Ramsey, a 25-year-old mother who had allegedly been gone since 1980. And that raised one of the most unsettling questions in the entire case. If Karen vanished in 1980, why was there no clear missing person report? Police said they searched for one, but it was unclear whether one had ever been filed. That detail changes the entire shape of the story, because when someone disappears, the assumption is that someone asks questions. A parent asks, a friend asks, a neighbor asks. Someone notices the empty chair, the unanswered call, the sudden absence that does not feel right. But with Karen Ramsey, the public record appears to show something much colder. A young woman vanished, and the alarm either never sounded loudly enough or never sounded at all. That is the part of the case that lingers. Not just the concrete, not just the grave, but the silence around her, because a body can be hidden and evidence can be buried. But how does an entire disappearance become quiet for more than 4 decades? Karen was not elderly. She was not someone completely disconnected from the world. She had been a wife, a mother, and someone with people around her. According to reporting, friends and acquaintances later questioned the idea that Karen would simply abandon her young daughter and never come back. That is what makes this case so haunting. There are mysteries where the unknown person has no name, and then there are mysteries where the person has a name, a face, a life, and still somehow vanishes into nothing. Karen Ramsey did not disappear from legend. She disappeared from ordinary life. She did not vanish into a haunted forest or leave behind a trail of cryptic clues. Her story seems to have been swallowed by normal surroundings. Homes, neighbors, relationships, conversations, and explanations that may have sounded believable at the time, but feel different now. The Times-Union's podcast series Long Buried has brought renewed attention to the case, exploring the discovery, the early theories, the DNA identification, and the difficult question of how someone could disappear for 44 years without anyone clearly asking why. That question may be the heart of the entire story. Not only who killed Karen Ramsey, but how she became invisible. Because there is a particular horror in being forgotten before you are even found, in having your life reduced to an explanation that nobody seems to challenge hard enough. According to later reporting, Karen's life before her disappearance may have been complicated. Old records and neighbor memories pointed toward strained relationships, arguments, and a domestic situation that may not have been as ordinary as it looked from the outside. But this is where the story has to be handled carefully. A troubled relationship does not prove murder. Arguments do not prove guilt. Rumors do not prove what happened behind closed doors. And memory, especially after 44 years, is never perfect. But cold cases often live in that uncomfortable space where there is not enough to accuse, but too much to ignore. According to reports, Karen's husband later said she had left him and their young daughter. But people who remembered Karen reportedly struggled with that explanation. To them, it did not match the woman they knew, and when someone's remains are later found beneath concrete, every old explanation begins to look different. Not necessarily false, not automatically criminal, but different. The past rearranges itself around new evidence. A sentence someone once accepted becomes suspicious. A memory someone pushed aside becomes important. A small detail suddenly feels like it had been glowing in the dark the entire time. That is the cruelty of cold cases. The truth can arrive too late for the people who needed it most. By the time Karen's remains were found, decades had passed. Some witnesses were older. Some may have died. Places had changed. Records may have been lost. And Karen could no longer speak for herself. Investigators have treated Karen Ramsey's death as a homicide, but authorities have not publicly released every detail, including information that may remain important to the ongoing investigation. That means there may still be evidence the public has never seen, and questions police are still trying to answer. Who killed Karen Ramsey? Who buried her beneath concrete? Who knew she was there? And how did she remain hidden for 44 years? These are not just questions from the past. They are questions that still belong to the present, because this case is not closed. The discovery itself is almost impossible to imagine. A normal construction site, a routine dig, workers expecting soil, stone, or old material from a previous structure. Then, suddenly, the ordinary world stops. A patch of land is no longer just land. Concrete is no longer just concrete. It becomes a sealed confession, a place where someone may have tried to make a person disappear permanently. and for a very long time it worked. Whoever placed Karen there, if investigators confirm she was deliberately hidden, may have believed the secret would last forever. Karen missed the 1980s. She missed the 1990s. She missed the new century. She missed a world that changed so completely that the year she vanished began to feel like another lifetime. But beneath the surface, the truth remained. Not alive, not spoken, but still there. When it finally came back, it did not come back gently. It came back through excavation equipment, forensic testing, DNA, and investigators connecting a body to a name that had been missing from the story for more than 4 decades. Karen Ramsey was no longer just remains beneath concrete. Modern DNA has changed the way cold cases work. It has given names back to people once known only as Jane Doe. It has reopened cases families thought would never move again. But DNA can only answer the first question. It can say who someone was. It cannot always say who hurt them. In Karen's case, the answer to her identity opened another door. What happened in May 1980? Who saw her last? What were people told after she disappeared? And who, if anyone, benefited from the belief that Karen had simply walked away from her life? Those questions matter because if Karen was never clearly reported missing, then the story people were told about her disappearance matters too. A missing person case begins with concern. But if those around a victim are convinced they left voluntarily, that concern can be delayed, redirected, or dismissed. That does not mean everyone who believed that explanation did something wrong. People can be misled. People can be confused. People can accept a story because they have no reason at the time to imagine something worse. But once remains are found beneath concrete, every old belief has to be dragged back into the light. Karen was not living somewhere else. She was not rebuilding her life under another name. She was not avoiding her past. She was dead, and she had been dead for a very long time. For anyone who cared about her, that realization means grief was delayed by more than 4 decades. There was no proper goodbye, no confirmed answer, no chance to ask the right questions while the trail was still warm, no chance to preserve every detail before time began erasing them. Cold cases are often described as frozen in time, but that is not really true. The victim is frozen. The evidence may be frozen, but everyone else keeps moving. People remarry, children grow up, witnesses move away, documents vanish, memories distort, and by the time the truth resurfaces, the world that created the mystery may no longer exist. That is why Karen Ramsey's case feels so painful. She was not just hidden physically. She was hidden by time. 44 years is long enough for a secret to become almost untouchable, long enough for people to tell themselves the past is over, and long enough for questions to feel useless. But the ground does not care how much time has passed. It keeps what it is given, and sometimes, when disturbed, it gives it back. In April 2024, the ground gave Karen Ramsey back to the world, and with her came a question that had waited 44 years to be asked properly. How does a young mother disappear for that long? How does no clear missing report appear? How does a person become absent from the official story of her own life? And how many people had to accept silence for that silence to survive? The case also raises a larger question about how disappearances were handled in the past. In 1980, there were no viral appeals, no social media posts spreading a missing person's face within minutes, no instant online databases, and no digital trail showing where someone last used a phone or card. If an adult disappeared and someone said they had left by choice, the case could fade quickly, especially if the people closest to them did not push or if authorities accepted a simple explanation. That possibility hangs over Karen's story like a shadow, because if Karen did not walk away, then someone did more than end her life. They may have controlled the story after it, and sometimes controlling the story is what allows a crime to survive. A body can be buried once, but a lie has to be buried over and over again. Every time someone asks, every time someone wonders, every time a child grows older without answers, every time a neighbor remembers something strange but says nothing because too much time has passed. That is how silence protects the past. But cold cases can change because of fragments. A strange comment, a suspicious timeline, a story that changed, a sound through a wall, a record in an archive, a memory that did not make sense then, but makes sense now. Sometimes one small detail is enough to move a case forward. That is why law enforcement appeals matter in cases like this. Someone may still remember something from 1980. Someone may have heard a version of events that never felt right. Someone may have seen a vehicle, a person, a change in behavior, or a moment that only became important after Karen was found. Not every case is solved by a dramatic confession. Sometimes it is solved by one quiet correction. One person saying, "That is not how I remember it." One person finally admitting there was something strange. One old record, one phone call, one witness who thought it was too late, only to realize it was not. Right now, the public knows the beginning and the terrible middle. Karen was alive. Karen disappeared. Karen was found beneath concrete more than 4 decades later. But the ending is still missing, and until that ending is found, the case remains suspended between discovery and justice. It is tempting to think of buried bodies as secrets, but they are not secrets forever. They are evidence waiting for time to fail. And in April 2024, time finally failed whoever thought Karen Ramsey would never be found. The ground opened. The concrete broke. The remains were recovered. The DNA spoke, and a woman who had been hidden for 44 years was given back her name. Karen Ramsey. Karen Angelillo, 25 years old, a mother, a woman whose disappearance now demands answers. Maybe that is why this case feels so chilling. The scariest part is not only that Karen was buried beneath concrete, it is that for decades, life carried on above her. People drove past, homes stood nearby, the seasons changed, children grew up, the world moved forward. And beneath it all, Karen waited. Not because she had chosen to vanish, not because she had left everything behind, but because someone, somewhere, may have decided that silence was enough. But silence is not the same as truth. Concrete is not the same as closure. For 44 years, Karen Ramsey was hidden. Now she has her name back. The only question left is whether she will ever get justice.